Now, you mentioned Ciryl not having the type of one-punch KO power that a Derek Lewis or a Francis Ngannou have, but how he makes up for it and what those guys don't necessarily have that he has is just... What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
So we got Ciryl Gane versus Jon Jones. This is the first time we're going to see Jon at heavyweight, the first time we're going to see him in almost 3 years. I'm super excited for this fight. The odds are close, but Jon is the favorite, which kind of has me wondering, what can Ciryl Gane do here to pull off the upset? Because we've seen Jon just put on masterclass after masterclass his entire career and really beat people at their specialty. So what can Gane do to give Jon essentially his first loss of his career?
Well, the obvious answer is to take this to a kickboxing range and try to stay there for as long as you possibly can. The issue is exactly what you said. Jon Jones likes to go against a specialist and beat them at their specialty. He'll go in there and wrestle with DC and out-wrestle him. He'll go in there and box with Gustafsson and outbox him. And if Ciryl Gane wants to go in there and do kickboxing, Jon Jones will probably oblige and start out-kickboxing Ciryl Gane, which will throw his brain for a loop. And I understand that's not really a common game plan for a heavyweight, but Ciryl Gane has more of an accumulative style of knockout power. He doesn't have that one punch Derek Lewis style, put you down and have the whole crowd silence. He doesn't have that type of skill, and I don't think he has that type of power. So he really does have to be very, very specific with the range that he's at and how he's able to evade Jon, because if Jon does decide at any point, hey, I want to take this to the ground, Cyryl's in big trouble. We saw how Francis dealt with him on the ground, and Jon Jones is a far more deadly grappler than Francis Ngannou. And then also if Jon Jones decides he wants to take it and do it more of a clinch fight up against the cage, he has so much experience there, and he's shown us many, many times just how deadly he is over there. So I really don't know what Jon Jones we're going to get. Obviously, he's been out for several years, and people talk about ring rust all the time, but he's had long layoffs before, so I don't think ring rust is something we can just go ahead and say is going to be a downfall for Jon Jones. He's kind of defies all things every time he goes out there.
He defies all things every time he goes out there, and he's just one of those people that knows how to win fights, and he knows how to do it round by round. So if he doesn't finish you, he's just going to accumulate damage and accumulate rounds, and Cyryl's got to really be aware of that. From minute one, Jon Jones is going to be trying to take control of this fight and systematically break down Ciryl Gane. Now, you mentioned Ciryl not having the type of one-punch KO power that a Derek Lewis or a Francis Ngannou have, but how he makes up for it and what those guys don't necessarily have that he has is just utter precision. He throws his jab so precise, it lands so flush. I've seen him put people down with a jab, not because it was a super powerful jab, but just because it was so well-timed and well-placed. And he uses that jab to set up his combinations. He'll jab, and then he'll go for that sort of clinch position right into a flying knee. He's very creative there. Push you off to create some distance and land some kicks. Speaking of kicks, he does have excellent kicks. However, I think if he wants to have his best chance against Jon, I would give him the same advice that we talked about Volkanovski needing to employ in order to do well against Islam Makhachev, and that's to keep the kicks low. Because anything high on Jon's very good at catching body kicks and then sweeping your other leg and ending up on top, and he can do tremendous damage from the ground and pound position. So I think we're looking at calf kicks, we're looking at quad kicks, we're looking at getting that leg out and getting it right back as quickly as possible. Otherwise, he's going to find himself on the ground, and I think that's where the biggest disparity in this fight is. Jon Jones is a way better wrestler and grappler than Ciryl Gane. God forbid he gets to side control, he mounts you, or he takes your back. It's pretty much all but over. So I think Ciryl Gane does really need to try to keep this fight at that kickboxing range, and more importantly than keeping it at a kickboxing range, engage each combination on his terms. This may have to look like a little bit of a boring fight for Ciryl Gane to win. He may have to evade, he may have to move, and really only pick his shots when he sees them available to him. Kick and move, jab and move. I'm almost thinking like an Israel Adesanya type of fight over the last couple of years where you're just really evasive, you move a lot, because if Jon can close the distance on his terms and he can walk Ciryl down on his terms, I don't see this being competitive.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. And I think evading is obviously a good game plan when you're going against Jon Jones and he's such a pressure fighter, but you can't lose total octagon control. You do have to bring the fight a little bit, or else it looks really bad optically when the judges are scoring the rounds. And obviously, when you talked about those sweeps, you couldn't be more spot on. When you've got a full crowd that hears a big thud of a heavyweight hitting the deck and everybody cheers because there's some sort of fancy looking sweep and Jon Jones makes you stand up on your own just to get back up and do it again, it can be demoralizing and it can really weigh a lot on the scorecard. So Ciryl Gane has a very, very small window that he has to play with, and he has to do these things right. If he doesn't do them and Jon's able to just have fun, Cyryl's in for a very rough night at the office. And I really can't wait for this fight, but something tells me Jon Jones is about to put on another masterclass.
Yeah, it certainly seems like he could, and he looks phenomenal. His body, I mean, he's put the weight on properly. And speaking of weight, I think that's one final thing I will say that Ciryl Gane needs to do in order to have his best chance here. Now, he's going to weigh in about 50 pounds heavier than anybody Jon's ever fought in his career before at weigh-ins. Even DC weighed in at 205 before their fight. Cyryl's going to come in around 250. So this is going to be one of those things where if you want to have your best chance, make him feel your power early. Put something on him that's going to hurt him early. Maybe a good, strong 1-2 to the face. Maybe a really good body kick, but be careful that it doesn't get caught. I think that Ciryl Gane needs to show Jon Jones that heavyweight is not light heavyweight. And if he does that, maybe he can garner a little respect from Jon, and Jon's not just going to come right at him and implement his game plan. Maybe he's a little bit more reserved, and that gives Ciryl an opportunity to set up his combinations. But I think it's imperative that Gane hit Jones with something hard early.
That's a good point, but I do have to push back a little bit. The best way for somebody to feel your weight is to get connected to him. And the last thing Ciryl Gane should want to do is get connected or get super close to Jon Jones, because that could be the beginning of the end for him. So if he does do something, it's got to be just a power shot from a long kickboxing range. Anything other than that, he might be in trouble, and Jon Jones is just going to use the speed and the lighter weight as an advantage.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. We're your hub for all things combat sports. If that's your jam, we appreciate a subscribe and a like on the video, and drop us a comment down below. We'll see you next time.
Peace.